Good morning and welcome to Assisi. In case you don't know, Assisi is a town in Italy and it's famous for being the birthplace of Saint Francis or Saint Francesco. And he was an incredible Christian saint and mystic, and he is the reason I have been wanting to come here for a really long time, and now being here I'm really happy. I want to tell you about him a bit, and especially not just his history, but also the lessons I learned following his presence and his example. Saint Francis was born around 1181 in Assisi, Italy, into a wealthy merchant family. As a young man, he enjoyed luxury, parties, and became a knight. After returning from a failed military campaign and a period of illness, Francis set out again to seek glory as a knight. But on the way, while resting in Spoleto, he had a vision which deeply shook him, and after which he abandoned his military ambitions and returned to Assisi, confused but inwardly transformed. Later, while praying before a crucifix in the ruined church of San Damiano, Francis experienced another decisive moment. The crucified Christ spoke to him, saying, "Francis, go and repair my house, which you see is falling into ruin." This experience is usually seen as the moment that fully launched his new life and ministry, as he started to renew the spiritual life of the church through poverty, humility, and love. Francis lived as a wandering preacher. His way of life attracted followers, and together they formed a community devoted to prayer, simplicity, and care for the poor. In 1209, the Pope officially approved their way of life, marking the beginning of the Franciscan order. Francis never became a priest but lived as a humble friar dedicated to Christ. One of the things that moved me the most being here in Assisi and reading about the life of Saint Francis was his profound humility. And I want to share a story with you from his life that might give you a sense of what I mean by that. In the early days of Saint Francis' ministry, the brotherhood was growing in Assisi, and Francis was becoming more and more popular. One day, one of his brother monks asked him, "Why you? Why you?" Meaning, why are you so popular? You are not as well educated as some of us, not coming from a great rich family like some of us, and you're not even as handsome as some of us. Why you? Why you? And then Francis goes into a communion with God, into a sort of ecstasy. And as he comes back from that, he says, "You truly spoken, brother. I am the least among you. That's why me." God is showing that his work is done from the most humble of persons, and the qualities of that person don't matter. Pride is one of the hardest emotions to notice in ourselves. It is very sneaky. This sense that we are somehow special. Usually, somehow we are more important or better than others. But it is crucial that we notice when pride arises in us, because it takes away from us the ability to acknowledge other beings' good qualities and rejoice in their happiness. The other side of pride is jealousy, this sense that we are somehow less or worse than others. That also gives us this kind of sense of I'm special somehow. So both being better and worse than others, creating these distinctions and differences between beings, takes you away from your truth. Just to elaborate a bit more on this point of humility and working with pride and what the spiritual path is really about and what the life and the example of Saint Francis is about, I want to share a few quotes with you coming from different wisdom traditions. To love God is to have no self, to be of no mind, to become a dead man, to be free from the constricting motivations of consciousness. There comes a time when an individual becomes irresistible and his or her actions become all-pervasive in their effects. This time comes when that person reduces him or herself to zero. In the pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added. In the practice of the Tao, every day something is dropped. Less and less do you need to force things, until finally you arrive at non-action. When nothing is done, nothing is left undone. True mastery can be gained by letting things go their own way. It can't be gained by interfering. Another aspect of Saint Francis's life that I want to touch on is that it was said that he was able to speak with animals. And this sounds like something very far out, but I want to attempt in this video to explain how is this possible not just for saints, but for every single one of us. And not just that it is possible for every single one of us, but in a way it is our responsibility to learn how we are in communication with everything around us and to acknowledge the profound interconnectedness of this world. There is a bridge that exists between all beings, a connection through which we can communicate and meet each other. But it only works if the bridge is at equal height on both sides. For example, if a human thinks that he is in some way more superior than his dog, by that he raises his side of the bridge. And so the communication can go down, but it can go up. And so the dog will be able to understand the human, but the human won't be able to understand the dog. And he will be a dumb human next to an intelligent animal. We are in constant communication with everything around us, not on a verbal level, but on a mental one and even beyond that one. To establish the bridge between us and another being, we need to be in a state of real companionship that comes from mutual respect, admiration, appreciation, loyalty, courtesy, and the desire to share the very best with one another. Then we need to practice the art of listening, to let the mind of the universe speak to itself, through itself, and with itself, to understand itself. For this magic to happen, for us to talk with bugs, trees, dogs, and each other, not through speech, but through the heart, and actually understand each other, we need to first humble ourselves. We need to bring down our side of the bridge. We have to give up our self-importance by giving more importance to the self, which is in all beings. So these were a few of the lessons that Saint Francis taught from his presence and through his life. And we could probably talk about him forever, but I think that's it for now. And just one more thing, I want to share the peace prayer, one of the prayers of Saint Francis that I think sums up everything pretty well to end this. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me bring love. Where there is offense, let me bring pardon. Where there is discord, let me bring union. Where there is error, let me bring truth. Where there is doubt, let me bring faith. And where there is despair, let me bring hope. Where there is darkness, let me bring your light. Where there is sadness, please let me bring joy. O Divine Master, grant me that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in self-forgetting that we find. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is in dying that we are born to eternal life.